Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and welcome to Red Wave 22, where we are going to have every conservative candidate we could get our hands on so you get to know them better. And this isn't going to be 10-minute interviews, 5-minute sound bites. This is going to be long-form, get to know the candidates, only the way the Johnny Brew Show does. Really quick, there's a whole bunch of events happening around town in the month of March and even in April. I wanted to give you a heads up onto some of the things that are happening. First of all, CCW Vegas can be reached at ccwvegas.com. They are having a large concealed carry permit class at a library. And it's a big deal because the city was trying to not let them have their events at the public library, which is a public square, and owning a gun and having a concealed carry permit is legal. So they're very excited. They're going to have at least a half dozen candidates, including some of your Johnny Brew Show favorites down there. So check out ccwvegas.com for that. Also, coming up in 2 weeks, we have the Ccrp Convention, and they're going to be at the Ahern on March 19th, 2022. All-day event, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I know the first half of the event is going to be the Ccrp something or other, and then the second half of the event is going to be the convention. I'm not really sure on the details, but I know it's going to be a big event. I know I'm going to be there, and if you want to find out more information about that, contact theccrp.org or look up Jesse Law on Facebook. And then finally, we have the Asian Pacific Community Awareness Convention. That is where all of the Asians, Pacific Islanders, Hawaiians, Filipinos, yada, 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 they all get together with their conservative friends and they decide about the issues that are most important to their community, and then they find candidates that will represent the Asian and Pacific Islander community best. That's held by Vince, and you could find out more about that on the it's the AAPI, American Asian Pacific Islanders on Facebook, and I'm going to get you guys a phone number or something for that later on. Finally, what I really need you guys to do is subscribe on our YouTube or our Rumble stations, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. Look us up on Facebook or just Google The Johnny Brew Show. It'll give you all the links to all of our media. We need you to tell a friend. We need you to get the word out. We're not looking for donations. We're not doing commercials. We're just telling you guys so that way we could all learn more about what's going on in our community from a logical point of view. So, with that in mind, and without further ado, we have candidate for the Henderson City Council, Ms. Carrie Cox, joining us today. How are you, Carrie?
I'm doing great, Johnny. How are you?
Very good. You excited?
I am.
Yeah, so how's the campaign going so far?
It's going great.
It's going good?
Yes.
And I know this is your second time running. In 2017, you also ran. And what I found really exciting for you is when you ran, you went in the primary. It's a nonpartisan seat, correct?
Correct.
So then when you ran in the primary, you were about 3,000 votes short of the incumbent in the primary. And then there was about 8 or 9 candidates. I mean, I know 3 people did somewhat well. And then when you had the real election in November, you closed that gap to within 500. So I feel like if you had another month of campaigning, maybe you would have been able to close that gap. I mean, am I right when I say that you were 3,000 votes behind in June, and then in November you were only 500 behind?
Yes, but I was even less in November. I was 422 votes, which would have been 211 net votes.
Right.
And it was so close that it helped me make up my mind that I was going to do this again.
And, we just had, who did we just have on? My life is...
Sam Peters?
Sam Peters, right. And Sam Peters ran in 2020
Yes.
as well, and now he's going to run for the same position in 2022. And he had a decent showing, and he finished second place in the primary to Jim Marchant. And he said that, that good experience led him to realize that this is the thing. He's not changing offices. It sounds like you're doing the same thing. You're just trying to continue that momentum from 2018. With this red wave I'm predicting is coming in 2022, that could be enough to get you over the top?
Yes, absolutely. And I believe in my supporters, and I believe in Henderson residents, and I know they'll do it because we need the best leadership possible.
Now, is it a woman who's in the office right now?
No.
It's a gentleman?
It is a gentleman.
And is he termed out, or will he be running again?
He is termed out, so it is an open race.
And do you have any ideas on the other side of the ticket that they have people preparing to run?
Oh, yes. I know all of the
Democrats?
opponents. Two
There's
Democrats
at least two that you know of?
and two Republicans.
And two Republicans. So this is going to be a fight for this.
It is going to be a fight for this, but I'm the best choice. So
tell us about the
I'm gonna
Henderson
take it.
City Council. How many people are on it? What is their purview of responsibility?
The Henderson City Council has 5 total. That includes the mayor, and so 4 city council people. And this particular cycle, it is the mayor's race and Ward 3 that is running, and I am
Gotcha.
Ward 3.
And then in 2 years, the other 3 seats will be up.
Correct, but all of Henderson can vote, so it is not
Sectioned off into districts.
Right, so all of them can run. And this last race actually took place in 2017 because the legislature pushed off for 18 months, so they did receive, the gentleman now the incumbent did receive an extra 18 months to be on the city council because they wanted to put it into
Off years.
Yeah.
And that obviously also affects election turnout and stuff.
Yes.
So in 2017, you're not going to have as many people turning out as 2018.
Yes.
Which as many people turning out in 2016 or 20, which is a presidential year.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a different ball game.
It is.
Because I think you got I think you lost something like 7,000 to 6,500 or something like that. Are you expecting those numbers to go up quite a bit since it's going to be an actual midterm?
Yes, we are expecting numbers to go up because I think people are ready for a change. They want to be able to preserve their quality of life. They do care about the issues that are going on in Henderson, and they're going to make a showing. I believe we will see more votes, more voters come out, and more votes for municipal level races.
Right, whether you're talking about city council or school board and stuff like
Yes,
that. People are a lot
correct.
more astute to politics in the last 3 years since
Yes.
the last time you ran. It's a different animal.
It is.
Well, tell us, where did you grow up? Where did you go to high school?
I grew up in Provo, Utah, and I went to Timpview High School and graduated from there, and I graduated from Brigham Young University.
Right, so I mean, am I safe to assume you're a Mormon from Utah that went to BYU?
Yes, but not typical.
Not typical.
No, meaning I'm 56 years old. I've been out of Utah for a very long time as far as growing up.
Right.
So to think back, I know you wanted a high school picture, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'd have to dig out my yearbook. I'd have to find one. So there was nothing digital even thought of in that era. So I was born in '65. I'm older than I look. And
Good for you.
Yeah, so I've been in Nevada now for 32 years. And I've been serving residents for that long. And in Henderson, I've been in Henderson for 28 years.
Right.
So,
And what did you do in high school? What were your interests? What did you want to be when you grew up?
well, I had a lot of interests, and ironically, I've done a lot of them. I wanted to be a school teacher, which I am. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I wanted to serve the community. I always had that government, that interest in government
Right.
and how it works, and I wanted to be able to serve people. That is how I was
Did you
raised.
run for school government, or were you on the drama club, or were you an actress or a musician?
I did a lot of leadership positions in high school, but I wasn't in student council
Right.
but I did have a lot of class president and things like that.
Right,
so.
now they have stuff like the Key Club and
Yes.
stuff like that,
And I
where they do
was.
community engagement. So you were involved in the community
Yes.
even when you were just an adolescent.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was a peer tutor in elementary school. I mean, I started young.
Right.
I just wanted to serve and help people.
And that kind of led you to being a kindergarten teacher?
Absolutely. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, or at least a teacher from when I was very little. I'd line my dolls up on the couch and teach them. So
Sounds like some of our students, we see them doing
Yeah.
that here. It's super cute.
Yeah, I wanted to do that for all of my life. I think the only thing I didn't do was be a flight attendant. I think that was the other thing that I really wanted to be, but I wanted to be involved in law, and I have been a paralegal for family court, and I did a lot of this on the side while teaching because I've taught consistently for 32
Right.
years.
And kindergarten. God bless you. I teach kids, I teach everything from second grade to adults returning to college. I don't really teach kindergartners.
Kindergartners are amazing. You get them at their first experience.
They are cute.
They are. Their foundation. You're laying the foundation. You're helping shape them. That is such a critical year because they're still finishing their development.
Right.
And you want to be able to, I don't know, excite them about learning
Right.
and make sure that they love school, because if you ruin it at that age,
Right, and
it
you're
hurts
basically
them
building
forever.
their foundation for decorum and behavior. And, you know, for example, in Japan, I know they talk a lot about just teaching manners and decorum in the first 3 years of development. While I don't agree with that entirely, I'd like to see some academics mixed in. I do understand the sentiment. I mean, do you feel like as a kindergarten teacher that your number one responsibility is preparing them to become students as opposed to teaching them anything else?
Absolutely. And we're giving them life skills, right?
Right.
Because they do need to be able to go out in the world and function, and you want to just inspire that love of learning and that love of success and the building blocks that it takes to become a good human being.
Show up
And so
on
you're-
time, sit down at
Yeah.
your desk.
Yeah, so I'm part of the equation, I believe, with parents.
big
We
part.
work hand in hand. Yeah, to be able to shape
Right, by the
them.
time I get them, they've already been to school, and I'm assuming they know how to sit down and get their work out and be prepared to learn.
Yes, you hope so, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, teachers play a big role in the development and just the success of children. And you want a good teacher, someone who cares and we have so many in the state. I'm so grateful for my colleagues, and the people I work with are phenomenal. But we want good teachers with our children. I mean, I have 7 children, so
Wow.
and I have 11 grandchildren. So
You have 11
yeah,
grandchildren?
I do. We just
You are older than you look, I'm assuming.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I've been at this a while, but it is really important to me when my children were going through school that, you know, they had a teacher that was all in,
Right.
you know, invested in their future and was willing to be a partner with me to be able to help them succeed in
Right.
academics.
And I think that's
and
super
life.
important. I feel like I do well with students as well because they believe that I'm literally
Yeah.
all in with them. I mean, like, I'm down, you know, we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're going to figure this out. And also, you're a small business owner.
I am.
So what kind of a small business do you have?
And we just sold it, ironically, but we did that so that I can work full-time as a city councilwoman for the City
And
of
what kind of
Henderson.
business was it?
It's a restaurant.
Beautiful.
Yeah, fun through COVID, but we did well.
Holy
and so
cow.
we didn't sell. We were already selling it prior to COVID, but we just wanted to be able to have more time in our lives. I mean, we're busy. I'm a full-time kindergarten teacher.
I don't know nothing about
So-
owning a business and not having time in my life.
There you go. I bet you do. I mean, it's just it takes a lot of energy,
Yeah.
chutzpah.
Time.
I mean, it takes a lot of time. And so we were grateful that actually a hospital came along and wanted to put a clinic there. And so we sold it. It will no longer be a restaurant.
Ah.
But it came at the perfect time.
Right.
And we're just grateful for that blessing, you know.
If a hospital wanted to open here.
You would sell.
Yeah, you hit a nerve. Just from one small business owner to another. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
the completion of a wonderful project.
Thank you.
So one thing I do notice, though, is through everything on your campaign, everything that I learned, is that you're running basically on the platform that you are the prototypical Henderson resident. All
Yeah.
right? I mean, we got some pictures of you out and about in Henderson. And tell us what that means to you, being a typical Henderson resident.
Well, what that means to me is that I have lived, worked, played, all of the things. I've made Henderson my home. I've, had my children in Henderson schools. I've been out and about in the community, enjoying the parks that we have, enjoying all the amenities that we have in Henderson, and I've also given back. And so as a typical resident, I'm just like the voter. I want what they want. My
shopping,
goals,
a good school,
right,
safety.
Absolutely. My priorities are their priorities, or their priorities are my priorities. I feel like I relate with that resident first vision. And it's important to me because I think that's been lacking some. Well, I know it's been lacking some. And we need to be able to make sure that our focus remains on the residents.
So it's almost as if even local government has been taken over by elitists. Is that what you're getting at?
Not completely, and I don't ever want to insult anybody on the current Henderson City Council. I just want to say that I think it's good, better, best. I think there's a better way, there's a best way, and I think that what is lacking some is that resident first vision. We need to be hearing our residents. Like when they say they're tired of the growth, as far as the exponential growth, where it's just been crazy and the building is just out of control.
And they're talking about adding more low-income
Yes.
housing or affordable housing or something that they just called it, that they're going to be adding to both Las Vegas and Henderson.
Yeah. And what we want is, affordable housing is an interesting term, and a lot of people take that negatively. What we need houses that are affordable. And we need places that are affordable.
Houses and housing are
yes,
two different things.
Absolutely. And I would like to see more houses built in
Right.
Henderson.
Single-family dwellings.
Absolutely. I think that, the high-density housing, and I ran on this last time, I'm not against building. I'm not against growth.
Right.
But what I am against is just slamming in the same
As many
thing,
people
as
as you
many
can.
as you can. And West Henderson, I work out there. That's where my school is. And, it's incredible. I didn't think they could decimate an area more than they did Ward 3.
Right.
Like they took and put, four-story apartment buildings right off the 215 and Stephanie, right by where I live.
Right.
And
from the 215 and Stephanie all the way to the M, all the way to the airport. That little triangle used to be all desert, and now it's just houses and apartment complex and houses.
Yes, exactly.
And more houses.
Yes, exactly. And so we have to ask ourselves, growth is good, but we are addicted to growth in Henderson. And we have to ask ourselves, what does that do to our public safety? What pressures does that apply to our police department, our fire department, our first responders? What about water? What about just being able to provide needs? Look at our hospitals. We can paint a great picture, and I think they do. And at some point, we need to wake up and realize this isn't about winning races. This is about people.
Right.
A lot of times politicians say whatever they can to get a vote. And I'm more about reality. And it's harsh because they want to push it under the rug. And so let's just talk about the reality. The reality is that, and I was just endorsed by Henderson Police Officers Association. And the reality is that our police officers do a phenomenal job. They have worked with less. They have done more with less for a very long time. But that time is running out because our growth has continued.
Yeah.
We have officers leaving in droves across the country. It is affecting Henderson as well. And so we have a retirement issue, we have a recruitment issue, and we have a retention issue.
Right.
And if we don't address those three things quickly, even before I get in January,
Right.
we're going to see some big issues. We're already starting to see the ramifications of
Well,
that.
we're talking about homelessness or crime
Yes.
and stuff like that. But you talk about how you don't want to necessarily ruffle feathers or insult anybody on the current board, but at the same time, it sounds like you got a lot of problems with the way things have been being done.
Yes.
How are you going to be able to match that pacifist attitude with this I'm sick of what's been going on attitude?
Right. Well, I think it's a fine line. I think it's important to not attack people, but I do think it's important to say the truth, and that we can do that in a kind way. And so that's more not I'm a pacifist. I just want to make sure that they understand that it's not a personal attack against them.
Right. So you want to address issues, not sling mud.
Yes. And I want to be part of the solution, not the problem.
Right.
And
the division in politics is becoming an increasing problem.
it is. Absolutely. And what's most important is that if we are in it for ourselves, or we are out for a specific agenda that we have in our mind that we think is going to be best for the people, I mean, we're just sort of dictating our own goals and agendas, when in reality, what do the residents want? And I mean, they did just do a survey in Henderson, but I'd like to know who participated in that survey, because everybody I talked to does not feel the way those numbers in that survey came out.
Right.
And again, we have a great place to live. Henderson's a great place. I think the current city council's done a great job in many areas, but there's just some areas I'm sorry, I do not feel that I would have voted the way they voted. I would not have responded the way they responded at all.
Right, and we're going to go through a lot of those issues one by one. But when you're talking about division in politics, there's something, I'm kind of new to this whole game, and I'm a Republican through and through. But when I first started getting involved, I didn't understand the party politics baloney, and you got to watch who you're taking pictures with and which Republicans you're talking to. And I'm guessing that you've been experiencing a lot of the same thing, because I've seen you with both contingents of the CCRP, and I know that, both of them seem to get a little upset when they see you with the other contingent. Tell us about that experience, and how do you deal with that? Because I'm guessing you want all Republicans to support you, but at the same time, it's almost like there's two Republican parties now in Clark County. How do you deal with that?
It's really sad, Johnny. It is, because how I deal with it is, I don't know if I'm dealing with it. I think I'm having to just try to be very neutral. I understand that there are issues that are beyond my understanding or my ability to make an impact or a difference for them, for our party. But it is important that we come together. And I'm going to allow and stay out of that and let them figure out what matters to them. I know both contingencies well. I have friends that are on both sides, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about in leadership per se. I'm just saying we have regular Republicans that are out there serving and trying to help, and they're I have friends on some.
I even know there's family members who, when
they
have the two CCRP meetings at the same time, some families, one brother is going to one meeting and another brother's going to another meeting.
It's so sad, because so without judging right or wrong on that, because that really gets off into the weeds, in my opinion, especially for candidates. I mean, these are your candidates that are now torn.
Right.
And I think in a way it's really unfair, because we already have it hard. We already are out there trying to get Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike to get to know us, and especially in a nonpartisan race, which they want to know your party, because it does matter to them what you are. And so we're already fighting that. And so then when we have all of this infighting in our Republican Party in Clark County with the state party, it makes it really hard, because I admire both sides. And so it is really kind of, it's kind of like cut the baby in half. I mean, so to speak. I don't like it, but I just want them to know that I do care, and if there is anything I can do, I'll do it, because I don't know how we make this better. I don't have the answer, but we have to make it better, because how are we ever going to win races if we do not have the support?
Well, you might not be able to make party politics better, but as you have alluded to, you've been working to try to make Henderson better.
Absolutely.
For a long time, not just going through the city council. If you were part of the City of Henderson Blue Ribbon Commission on Education, along with a couple other things, why don't you tell me, what exactly is this Blue Ribbon Commission on Education?
I am currently on that commission, and it is the Henderson Blue Ribbon Commission for Excellence in Education and Youth Opportunity. And what it is a commission made up of adults and of high school seniors, high school students that come and are actually the leadership. So they're being mentored by us as leaders, and they're able to run those meetings. And they're learning how to do that and to be on a commission. And then what we do is we do certain events, and we did an event with the Blue Star Mothers for Christmas to be able to put together stockings
What's
to
a
send
Blue
those
Star
over.
Mother?
A Blue Star Mother is someone that has their son or daughter in the military or has lost a son or daughter in the military, and but they want to support the troops. And so we put together these Christmas stockings with different items in them, and we actually stocked those stockings, and then we help participate in that event. And so we go around and help just improve things in Henderson. And then also we put together with the students, they put together just almost like a forum that they have other students come. It was very sad. We spent a lot of time working on this, and then COVID hit literally right before we had our little convention of students.
It's like these other basketball players right before the playoffs start. COVID shut everything down.
It did. And so these seniors had worked so hard, and the adults, and we have people from the City of Henderson that are with us and helping us through this process on this commission, and they had worked so hard, and then we were unable to do our last one. We're still working towards doing this next one possibly, and I don't know if we'll get it off the ground or not, but we basically bring high school seniors together and we talk about college opportunities, because we want to make sure that we are helping students want to go on to college.
Right, and having the resources and connections.
Exactly. And so we do that event. That's our large event. We also have a Halloween event and, trunk or treating and things like that.
And then you were also on the Clark County Community Development Advisory Committee. What does that entail?
Yep, I am, and I'm still on it. And what that entails is that is federal funding that we hear from our presenters. They come and they present different things, like, for instance, rapid rehousing, domestic violence shelters. We work with the homeless.
So this is a committee where if the feds say we're going to give you guys $500,000 to combat homelessness, and that's what you always hear as the headline, and everybody says, well, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah.
This committee helps allocate those funds, and you get to carry the purse strings, so to say, on, okay, we're going to do a soup kitchen, or we're going to build affordable housing, or what are we going to do with this money to help the problem?
Correct. And we do a lot of senior housing. Like I said, so we provide those resources for the community to be able to help with issues that we're seeing. And I mean, the rents are out of control.
Yeah.
How does
Almost
a senior
triple
on
in the
a
past
fixed,
12 years.
Right? How does a senior, a veteran, a family afford
Making $12 an hour at Wendy's.
Exactly, afford $2,400 for a 2-bedroom apartment. And so, we do look at the presenters' plans, and then we decide we're going to give so much to this
avenue,
this
whatever it might be, right,
in order to be able to do that. And we do look for the best possible case scenario for the neighborhoods, but it's for all of Clark County. And we have serviced a lot of people over the years. I've been on that commission for 4 years. I was appointed by Jim Gibson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's a ton of other stuff. I mean, I don't want to spend too long on each one, but, I mean, you were the president of the PTA.
Yes.
And you were a member of the PTA for like 30 years or something
Yes.
like that. You did something for cosmetology regulations or something? I
helped write a bill. Those were my early days. I graduated from high school at 16, and so I went right into beauty school, and then worked for a year, and then went back and became an instructor for a beauty college. Went back and got my schooling and my licensing, and went out and taught in beauty colleges for a little bit.
But you wrote a bill.
I did. I helped write one. Yes, I helped write one with Senator Woodhouse, and that did go through, and it was really interesting and fun, because now I know that if when I'm on the city council, that I'll be able to work with leadership,
Right.
in the assembly, in the Senate, in the Congress, to be able to write bills that would help Henderson,
or even understanding how that process is, because
absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing better than experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know you volunteer with your church a lot, women's groups, stuff like that. Are you still attending a Mormon church, or is that more just a Christian church? Is that here in Vegas?
Yes. Yep.
And you work with empowering women or something like that with the church?
Yeah, well, that's separate. That's a separate organization, but the Women's Network, yes, I do. I want to make sure, nothing against men at all. I don't think that you can empower women and put down men.
Right.
I just don't think those two things go along. And sometimes it goes that way with certain things, that as we've tried since the 60s, 70s to empower women, it shouldn't be to diminish men.
Right,
I have a problem.
women.
I have a problem with that in a big way.
I think men would like to hear that.
Yeah, well, and please know, I feel that way. I have a great deal of respect for men, and I think that, and I've taught my daughters that, it's about us being equals.
So you won't get mad at a man if he holds the door open for you?
Oh, I love that.
Oh, okay. So you're a staunch feminist, but you still believe in chivalry.
I'm not a staunch feminist at all. No, I'm not a feminist. I would not define myself as that, although I don't judge feminists as bad.
Right.
But I just say, I was born in 65, guys. I mean, I come from a different era. I come from an era that I wish we had now, where we can just sit down and talk like this and work out our problems and be part of a solution instead of have to jockey for a political position all of the time to get something done. And I also just grew up loving people. My father and mother came from the Depression, and they raised us four children to be kind, loving human beings no matter what happens around you, and that we're to help people and to serve people, and that was our mission and our purpose here in this life. And so that's what I have continued. Both my mother and father have passed, but they are great people, and they taught me so much. And then I spent years and years learning about life in general through my different careers. I mean, I helped save failing strip malls. I went in for Hair Masters was the company that I worked for in Seattle when I lived there years and years ago. And I'd go in and revitalize those strip malls and bring in a Hair Masters, and that acted as an anchor, and it helped those strip malls. And so I have an vast amount of experience across the board. I paralegal in family court system for a long time.
And we talk a lot about, say, the broken window theory. So I'm guessing refurbishing and fixing up these strip malls was a great example of, making the community a nicer place to live, and lends itself to the broken window theory. If there was a problem, let's fix it right away so it doesn't spread.
Absolutely.
I like that a lot. And then your husband's in the Air Force, or was in the Air Force?
He was, yes. He was with the Air Force. He was on the stealth project when it was black, when nobody knew about the stealth. Yeah, and he served his country, and I'm very proud of that. And he's a great man. If anyone's ever met Matthew, they know he's an awesome man. And that's the way I can do this.
Does he campaign with you and stuff?
He does, and puts out all my signs and takes care of my signage, and was doing that last time, 2 weeks out of a knee replacement. His doctor was like, "What are you doing?" But he's a good man, and he is that gentleman that holds the door open, and so I'm lucky. I have a great man who really is the wind beneath my wings. He lets me run, and he supports everything. So I'm so grateful to him.
It's always nice to have a spouse that supports all your endeavors.
It is. I know you have one too.
All right, so let's get on to some of the issues. This isn't your first appearance on the Johnny Bruce Show. We got a chance to see you at the school choice event, and just as a little flashback to before I got my hair cut, play tape. What's going on, guys? We're still here at the Nevada School Choice event, and we're with Carrie Cox, who's running for City Council in Henderson. Is it Ward 3?
It is.
Well, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Very, very good. What brings you to the School Choice event?
Well, I am an educator. I teach kindergarten for Pinecrest, and I have done that for 32 years, and my love and passion is kids. And it's really important to me that parents have a choice, that they get to choose what is the best fit for their children.
Right, and tell us a little bit about your experience at Pinecrest Academy.
I have absolutely loved teaching for Pinecrest. They're an amazing organization. I highly recommend that teachers check them out because they're great.
And then would you have to give up your teaching position if you were elected to City Council?
You know, I have taught for 32 years, and I don't want to give up my teaching position.
32 years. You look like you're 32 years old.
Thank you. You're very sweet. I'm not, but thank you. That is debatable. I think I will look at probably a part-time position because I really want to give the City of Henderson a full-time or close to full-time city council person. We haven't had a full-time city council person in this position. So I want to give it more time, so I'm going to try to find a way to stay with Pinecrest at least part-time.
And I'm assuming this is the first time you're running for political office. Why all of it's so education is, I'm guessing you're very similar to me. Like, I don't care if I became president or I became assemblyman, I would always be concentrated on education, which I'm guessing you do too. What can you do as a councilwoman for education?
Well, it gives you a bigger voice to do the things that you need to do to help people and to help children. And we do have a commission, actually a couple commissions that are on education at the city. And so I would work closely with those commissions to be able to make sure that we're doing all we can as a city council to bring change that is needed in our state. I mean, we're 50th. Right. We got up to 49th, I think 48th. That went for about 5 minutes, and it's not for a lack of people trying. But we, I think, together have to come together as educators completely, and they're looking at the breakup of the, Clark County School District.
That's been discussed for decades.
It has, and I worked on it 25, 30 years ago with Sandra Tiffany and Jeff Burr. I mean, I've been in this a long time. And I think that, is there a magic bullet? No. But I do think that we do need to look at breaking up the district and being able to promote school choice. I know that there are some that are against that, and I understand where they're coming from. I just know it, though, so closely from being in a classroom.
Right.
And
I mean, because me personally, I don't know where they're coming from. They talk about taking money away from the district or the public schools, or, if you were to lose 10 kids per classroom, then you would be at like 24 kids, and that's how many people are supposed to be in a classroom.
Right.
Like,
correct.
These schools were designed to have 600 kids, 24 kids per classroom, and now they have 1,100 kids, and they have 34 kids per classroom, and they're teaching in the trailers and in the gymnasium because they don't have enough room. I don't understand why just CCSD is one example, but any of these government-funded, schools, why are they so worried about losing kids when they're way over capacity, where they could use the pressure release of maybe some more charter schools taking some of the burden? So, I mean, I don't understand why a school isn't budgeted for 24 kids per class, 600 kids. And if you were to reduce it from 900 kids to 600, why they wouldn't welcome that? So they could do a better job teaching. That dichotomy confuses me.
Right. Well, and I'm not saying that I understand where Clark County School District is coming from.
No, but you're saying you understand where some people don't.
I understand where some communities feel that it will disenfranchise their students, that it will harm and hurt their community school if people bail on their school, that they will lose schools for their neighborhoods, especially in lower income neighborhoods. And I understand that. I understand their fear, but what I need them to do is to go past that fear and understand that our system is broken, and to continue a broken system is not helping their children or anyone's children.
Right. And I mean, personally, say you're in a horribly disenfranchised economic school in, in the inner city or something. If you have a teacher and 4 walls and only 24 students or 20 students, I think that would be way better than having carpeted hallways and computers for 48 students.
I agree 100%, because we have to get back to educating students.
Right.
And we do that at my school. But I do think parents, most importantly, I mean, we have to think about, and we seem to lose this sometimes, what were we founded upon? We were founded upon freedoms that allow choice. And so don't we all deserve a choice? Don't parents deserve a choice for their children to be able to decide what specifically meets their needs.
Right.
What school will serve them best? And they should have that school voucher.
And
They should be
especially
able
as
to decide where to go.
Especially as education is evolving to some people wanting to teach their children about pronouns and transsexual situations in elementary school, and some parents don't. You know, you have some schools that want to teach about, you know, the tenets of critical race theory or defunding the police, and you have other parents who want to teach their kids about Jesus or something. You know, like, if there's so many different things, if we're all learning math and reading, well, then let's all go to the same school. But if you're going to start categorizing what kind of an education you want to give your children, well, then we need to be able to give the options, because some parents believe strongly in one thing while other parents believe strongly in another. I would personally appreciate it if schools would leave religion, sexuality, and all that stuff
I agree.
to the parents, and then we could all go to the same schools. But as government continues to try to impart these social norms on children, not even norms, but new philosophies every couple of years, you know, we weren't talking about, for example, biological men competing in women's sports 15 years ago.
I know.
You know, and now we
Yeah.
are. Now,
Yeah.
if you're for that, you know, you should have the opportunity to decide where you want to go to school.
I agree, 100%.
Besides competition and everything else.
Yeah, no, I think parents should have the right, and children should be in their perfect fit for them. Because if we have to educate, I think we need to look at the bigger picture. We have to have an educated workforce.
And that's one of the biggest problems with Nevada's growth
Yes.
from a company coming here's point of view.
Yes, absolutely. And so to be able to get businesses to come into Henderson, to be able to come into Nevada, we have to make that attractive. If we do not have an educated workforce, which we know that across the country, and as a restaurant owner just recently, I will tell you, it was a nightmare. That was one of our reasons we decided as well to sell, besides me wanting to give my whole time to the city of Henderson. But if this had not come along, I was still selling, because it is difficult to find an educated workforce, or a workforce at all. There's a shortage in employment. There's employees shortage.
And then you realize
going on
when you have these problems with customer service or restaurants closing early, you know, the kids going to school now are not learning the importance of showing up every day on time.
I agree.
People seem to think they could take a day off per week, or they could show up whenever they want, and they don't realize what a business owner has to deal with if somebody's simply 10 minutes late.
I agree, and it's really been a change in our whole culture. And until we stand up, and there's plenty of parents and teachers and adults out there that we just need to stand up. Guys, we just need to stand up. It's time. It's time to make this happen across the board, because our kids are at stake. You know, and if we're not willing to stand up for ourselves, because that's hard, we can at least stand up for our kids. Because if we don't see some changes, we're going to be 50th in 20 years. You know, we've been talking about what we've been at for 20 years or more.
And I've been telling people, if we're the weakest link, if we're the worst in the country, well, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if we're able to fix education in Nevada, we're helping the country as a whole, because we're lifting up the bottom of, you know, our numbers. So
absolutely.
That gives us a better foundation. Even if we remain 50th, but we're better, that brings the bottom up. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And when you're 17th in the nation for funding for education,
right,
and you're 50th on performance,
right, then there's something wrong.
Then what are we doing?
Because our
answer, because our answer was to throw money at it. And yes, you need money, absolutely, but we've got to keep in mind that our kids need this education. And when it's really going to take its toll, and those that do not understand completely yet, is when you are getting ready to retire, and these students are the ones that are taking over in your political offices and running your government and deciding what's going to happen with you. That's when you're going to go.
Kamala Harris explain the problem in Ukraine. Is that an example?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my gosh. And then when you see the education and the fights that have been going on in CCSD, some of the really horrible violence, sexual assaults are starting to become rampant. That ties into also public safety, which is another platform of yours. Do you want to talk about public safety, how it relates to students, and then maybe public safety as a whole?
Okay, well, public safety is hard for students because we have a Clark County School District Police Department that does their very best, and then there's times like the charters have to rely on, of course, their local police departments, and so that puts an additional strain on the local police departments as one more thing they have to take care of. But they do, and they do a good job. But you know, they're beside the Clark County Police Department does a great job. They're just overwhelmed with the sheer amount of social just I don't know. We've just COVID destroyed. It doesn't, you know, COVID has ramifications that we will watch for these
next 20
consequences
years.
For the next 20 years. It is hurt our children, and so we have to look at the mental health, you know, along with public safety, because public safety won't get a relief until we look at mental health and
right.
what
And
our
if we as a
children
society
are
are going into the gutter,
Yes.
you're not going to fix it by hiring more cops.
Right.
We need to fix the root
Although-
problem. Talk about root causes in Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well, we do need to look at root causes. We also need to have more police officers because we're so low. But having said that, if we're once we get to the level, especially in Henderson, where we're supposed to be per capita, then yeah, we have to be doing it, I think, simultaneously, where we're looking at the mental health and helping on that side.
But
because
still
you
accounting
can't
for the
keep-
growth you were referring
Yes.
to in Henderson.
Yes, you have to. And so these poor students and these poor children, I mean, look at what our kids are going through. I am down to, let's see, I have a senior in high school who's graduating this year, and I have a 12-year-old. And I have to tell you that it just breaks my heart that my grandchildren are going to go through what, you know, and are going through what is arrived.
Right.
Bullying is taken, and I know some people love that word, some people don't like that word at all. But what that means is, for me, is bullying has been taken to a next level. I mean, they can cancel you in this cancel culture.
Right.
And that's happening to our children, and they're already in a vulnerable state when they're going through puberty,
Right.
and they're going through all of these changes, and they're trying to figure out who they are, and they have all of this coming at them.
And what happens is, you know, the kids have always been convinced not to be bullies, but of course they're always bullies. But when you see the parents and you see people on Facebook or, you know, talking about either president and talking about how much they hate them and what a POS the president is, no matter who you're talking, you know, the kids take their cues from that and they think, oh, well, people in authority and stuff, we could do. Now, of course, we can redress our government for grievances, and you can say anything about the president you want, which is one of the great things about living in America. But it used to be much fewer and further between. Now, everybody's talking about, I hate this president, I hate that, he's a piece of you-know-what. And I just think that the conversation has gone into the gutter.
It has, and we've really had a decline in our whole culture. Think about it. The bottom line is civility is the word.
Right.
Civility has been lost in a big way. But where we need to support as parents is our school police and our administrations in our education in our schools, is because we need to jump in as parents, and we need to, you know, these kids are crying out. So many of them are successful and awesome, but the kids that are struggling, they're crying out for someone to put a boundary.
Definitely.
They're crying out for, can someone give me a boundary?
I have that experience as a teacher. The tougher I am on kids, I've noticed the kids who wake up early and study, or the kids who you're very strict with, they're the happiest. They're happier. It's crazy. And the kids who get whatever they want, eat whatever you want, go up to school late, play video games all day, they have all this freedom, and they're truly miserable.
They are, because that's not what it was intended to be. They need to be mentored. They need to be cared for. They need to be loved. And when parents are so busy trying to earn a living because of our inflation and our economy right now, I mean, think about the pressure on parents as well. You know, so our whole society has just gone, it's gone berserk.
wrong direction.
Yes, it has. But we have to be able to bring it back and be strong and realize that even spending, I rarely see my kids, I feel like now, and I'm like, well, that's not who I am. I'm a hands-on parent. Luckily, I have a retired husband that's home being that hands-on parent. But not everybody has that luxury. And I was a single mom at one point. So I just want to say to the parents out there that, you can do it. You can do this. It feels overwhelming to parents with all of the issues, but please bring your kids close and please take care of them. That's going to help ultimately the school violence and the things that are going on in the school. It starts at home, and then get with your school officials. Let's hold them accountable. Let's hold Clark County School District accountable. Hold the charter schools accountable. Hold teachers accountable. Because just as kids feel better when you hold them accountable and you
adults
help
will
them,
respond as well.
Adults feel so also, because we can make this better. Otherwise, it's going to continue to go downhill, and we're going to lose some great kids. There's a huge suicide rate out there right now in our children. It's 8-year-olds. I just heard of an 8-year-old in our town that just committed suicide. So,
and even depression, just in general. You don't have to kill yourself to be a victim of depression. Because of this.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of that post-COVID. And we have to heal. We have to heal as a nation. We have to heal as a city, as a community, as schools, as children. We have to heal together, and it is going to take some effort, but I care about those issues as well, and with a larger voice I'm going to be out there talking about that and helping with that, because we have to address mental health. We have to address the homeless issue that we're seeing in Henderson. We have to address and that helps, and that all comes back to public safety and the demand on public safety, because our growth is creating some issues along with the national issues and inflation.
Right.
So we're getting hit. Did we
From
see
every
what
end.
Gas is?
Right.
Did we see what gas
Set
is
a
now?
record high yesterday in Las Vegas.
Insane. And these families are trying to make it work. And my heart goes out to you.
Well, we're running out of time, but I want to give you an opportunity to discuss a couple more topics really quick. Tell us what you mean when you say you want to call for more transparency in government.
Well, we always talk about that. Everybody says on their cards, we all look alike, right? What are the differences in me versus my opponents? Transparency. I want real transparency. I want you to know what we're doing. I don't want you to know what we're doing on the front side and then doing something on the back side that's different. I want it to be honest. I want integrity. I have integrity, and I'm going to, you can ask me a question. I'm going to tell you the truth, whether it hurts me or it doesn't hurt me.
And as far as Henderson's concerned, what about fiscal responsibility?
Well, we have to just make sure that we are budgeting, accordingly to our needs. And I just think we do have a large amount going to public safety, but we have to do that just a little bit different to be able to get good officers in. We have to recruit. We have to take care of that. We have to relieve the pressure on our officers. Like I said, they're leaving in droves. We've got to fix that. We've got to fix that right away. Our crime numbers are going up in Henderson. That is kept very tamped down. Our crime numbers,
same with Las Vegas and Clark County
they're
as a whole.
high. They're higher. We're still better than other cities, but hey, why are we comparing to the worst cities?
I believe that Las Vegas is better than most other large metropolitan areas, and our murder rate went up 75%. So, just because we're better compared to, say, San Francisco or, Bedford-Stuyvesant, New York, doesn't mean that we're where we're supposed to be. And if murders are almost doubling, we're definitely not doing well. There's no way you could characterize it as well.
No, and we're seeing an increase in some crimes in Henderson that are disturbing, and so we want to make sure that we have the police force that has our support, has the resources they need, and they're able to protect us, because we are going to continue to see these, and they're going to need help, like I said, at the charter schools with the police as well, and with the rise in what's going on.
As far as minimizing or tempering growth, but still promoting economic development, how would you juggle those two things?
Well, we have to bring businesses back. We lost a lot of businesses during COVID. When you lose mom and pop organizations, they play a part in the economy. And so being I was one, I will tell you, we have to bring them back. And it's going to take everybody. It's going to take all types of economic tools to be able to make that happen. But we are going to have to look at alternative, sustainable ways to do that. to bring in, I mean, we've already have the big tech companies coming in. I just would like to see some mom and pops come back so that we can kind of balance
We
everything
need more
out.
than Tesla and Starbucks.
Yeah, we do. Although, Starbucks is really killing it,
And they keep raising their prices, and
I
they're
know,
still doing better.
I can't afford going in there anymore. And not that I was a big Starbucks, person anyway, but I went in to get just some staff, some Valentine's drinks. I just wanted to say thank you to some of our
$50.
it was, and I was like, oh my gosh, for 6 drinks. But anyway, this isn't an anti-Starbucks or anything, but I just we have got to look at other revenues and other ways of making money in Henderson.
Right, and I like the mom and pop ideas.
Yeah, we have to bring them
I like to
back.
see regular, these corporations, they're good for cheap toys from China, but we can't buy everything from Walmart, can we?
No.
All right, so where can people learn more about you? You have a website that people could check out? What do you got?
Yeah. Go to votecarriecox.com, and that is a website that is continuing to improve and grow as the campaign goes on. You can reach me at votecarriecox@gmail.com is my email, and my number is 702-306-3302. I believe in that you should have my cell phone number because I'm going to be accessible to you so that I can help you with your needs in Henderson. I am the best choice for Henderson. I wanted to mention really quick that I am the one candidate that will have no conflicts. I am not beholden to anyone, and so I will be able to hear everything that comes in front of me and vote on everything that comes in front of me. And like I said, the other opponents will continue to work their jobs, and I am going to make sure that I'm full-time. Like I said, I'd love to stay at Pinecrest part-time, and we'll do that, but I will not be having a full-time classroom position no matter what I do. And so I want to be able to be there for you and have the time for you to be able to come in and talk to me about the needs you have for the City of Henderson.
Beautiful. Up next is your elevator pitch.
Didn't I just do it? No.
Yes, you did. You did it remarkably well. I think it was wonderful. All right, so before I let you go, I just want to remind everybody that, first of all, this is brought to you by Infinity, the Math Institute, where you don't get more math problems, you get solutions. Play tape. All right, and one other event that I want to make sure you guys know about. I already told you about the CCW Vegas event. I told you about the Asian Pacific Community Awareness event. I told you about the Ccrp Convention coming up. And finally, I want to let you know I've been invited to be the exclusive media provider for the 2022 COVID event that's going to be happening here in March 26th. I'm going to have some great interviews with the Bat Lady, as well as some doctors from around the world. Dr. Fred Simon is hosting it. Wayne Allen Root is emceeing it. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then before I let you go, I just want to say, is there anything else you wanted to tell the voters?
Just please get out and vote. Vote for me. Vote for Carrie Cox. This is a critical time in our society and in our communities, and I hope that you will get out and do that. And we always can use some help on this campaign, so please reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Thanks for your time today, Johnny. I appreciate you having me on.
No, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, if you like this kind of content, if you like getting to know the people who want to represent you, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook. Just Google The Johnny Brew Show. But please, hit that subscribe button. Give us 5 stars if the site allows it. And we're going to keep going with all this great coverage. Carrie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And my name is John Brookhagen. You've been watching The Johnny Brew Show.